All right, so in this video, we're actually going to script the player's movement. Let's take a look at where we left off. So we have our idle state. We created this parameter here, which when we check on makes our character walk. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the functionality inside of our player character's animation script. So you can either double click it here, and I'm sorry, here. You can select character movement and double click this, it'll open it, or you can double click it here and it'll open Visual Studio. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so scroll down into our variable from our variable section below where we have a reference to our rigid body and enter the following code. So what this is essentially a variable that called animator, and it's of the type animator. So it could store a reference to that animation controller that we created earlier. Now we made it private because we're going to be using another one of these get components to access this animator to automatically at start load in a um, reference to that animator. All right, so let's actually make this public so you can see that in action. And then down in our start method, let's go ahead and enter the code that will access that. All right, so here you can see a reference to the character animator component. And so we'll go ahead and save this. And let's return to Unity to see that when I press play, it'll automatically load in the animation controller that's connected to this character. All right, so I'm going to select my PBA kid. And on this script, now you can see that it says none for animator, but when I press play, it automatically loads that in. Now I noticed my slider wasn't updating either, and so what we want to do is make sure that we grab our slider and place it in here so that it takes that health off of this character. And let's go ahead and hit apply all so that we lock that in. So now when I press play, you see that's there and the slider. All right, let's return to Unity and, or I'm sorry, to Visual Studio and add the code that is going to drive the movement. All right, so remember that the update function runs every frame. So underneath our if statement here, I'm just going to press enter, and I'm going to enter the following code. So what this is doing is we're going to set that Boolean variable. So remember we have this variable called animator here that we just created. It's this one up here. And then we do dot set Boolean. If you remember, the parameter we created is a check mark, a Boolean. It's a yes or no, or is on or off. So what we're doing here is we're saying if our is walking, which is the name of our parameter, we put it in quotes. So we're accessing that parameter on our animation controller is greater than 0.01. We're going to set the absolute value to vertical. So remember, vertical, this is a reference to when we press we have these WASD keys that are connected to horizontal and vertical. And as we press a key, it's going to increase the number. So if that number is greater than 0, now we use this mathf.absolute because what it does is it's a method for providing a way for, really it's a math function. It's used to calculate the absolute value of a given number as it relates to the distance from 0 on a number line. So what it's doing is it's kind of rounding this up. So as we push it, it goes from, into the whole point values. So for example, like -5 returns 5, 7 returns 7, -3.5 returns 3.5, and 0 returns 0. Now these two bars here equate to OR. So if we're pushing our the keys associated with vertical or horizontal, those WASD keys, either one of them, we're going to set this to true. Now, because it's in our update function, what this does is this is a shorthand way of saying, well, if we're not pressing anything, we're going to, that value goes down automatically with the WASD keys. It'll probably go below 0. So let's go ahead and save this and see if this works. All right, here we are back in Unity. I'm going to expand this a little bit. I'm also going to slow down my PBA kid, his speed, because he's walking, not running. So let's try 5. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. And let's press play. Now you see when I press my WASD keys, my character is walking. And as I release those keys, he goes back to idling. Now I think what I'd like to do in the next video is I'd like to add just another movement script. And let's see, this one is not moving at all. So player transform, it looks like it keeps breaking. So let's add this. And let's press play here. There we go. Now it's moving. Ooh, it's like really jumping. Now what we can do too is he's moving way too slow. So let's actually lower this character's speed to maybe 1. There we go. It gives us a little bit of time. So looks good. So let's save our what we've done so far. And like I said in the next video, I'm going to make another movement script. We'll create another camera script that'll give us a little bit more control. Like we can scroll our wheel in and out to zoom in on our main character here.